But I promise you, like, I get it. We live in 2025 and people have been burned. Unfortunately, people have been burned by church's greed. God hates all greed. And it is not our heart to be greedy. We're trying to be as maximally generous as possible. To the point where, that's why we bless our teachers at the beginning of the school year and write checks to them. You all need to know our March Love Out. Every month we do a Love Out. We try to love people in our community. Our March Love Out, we're paying for it with our tithes and offerings. When you give money to our offering buckets, what we're doing as Agape City Church with our March Love Out is we're blessing our high school with an inline coffee system. Like we're tapping into the water line. We're putting a filter in there. We're putting good coffee from Good Sense. We're partnering with N from Good Sense. We're putting good coffee on demand for our teachers so our teachers could walk into that teacher lounge and just, Lord, just more caffeine, right? But we're going to pay for that for them because we love them and we want them to feel encouraged in the work that they're doing. Agape City Church, when you give, like you're giving to the work of God in this community. So anyway, all that to say is that is what they're doing. Now, verse 5, it goes on, it says this, and they exceeded our expectations. They gave themselves first of all to the Lord and then by the will of God also to us. So they gave tithes and offerings to God, but they because they were all just doing their part, they had so much money that they could do the work of the Lord, and they were able to buy Paul a meal, put him up in the room at night. Like they gave to the Lord's work, and they also like provided for our needs as well. That is what's available. And let me just say this real quick, because I get it. Some of you are like, this is your preferred way of giving. It's like, I don't trust churches, and I don't want to give through a church because I've seen churches mismanage money. I've seen mismanage wealth. I just don't want to do that. Okay. And then people say this, so then I do want to be generous, so I'll give people money directly from me, what I would have given a church. Okay, if that's what you want to do, you're never going to hear a pastor say this anywhere else, fine. Do that, okay? But promise me this. If you're going to give directly from your storehouse to a need, a neighbor, to someone, a blessing in our community, something like that, okay? And you feel like that's where you are in your faith and you don't want to give through a church and you want to give that way, okay, just promise me this. When you give, put God's name on it. Don't you dare take credit for that. God is in the business of giving himself glory. And if you're going to be generous, do not be generous and go, look how magnanimous I am. No, if you're going to give, you give in the name of the Lord.